Toronto Maple Leafs, what do they do coming out of this 3-game losing streak? They're going on the Western road trip. They're going to be playing against the Edmonton Oilers Saturday night. John Klingberg potential debut. You know the nightmares could happen there. So I think everything I just said, 3-game losing streak, 6 of their last 9 games a loss. They've dropped out of the first in the Atlantic. It's not going well. And there's a lot of Morgan Rielly trade rumors out there. And specifically, you look at a page like the Leafs Nation, they are sharing it to the viewers, talking about should the Leafs trade Rielly to the Canucks, for example, for JT Miller. So that's been a conversation. I mean, I'm not on that. I'm just not on the same page with that. I don't think that's the right call. And for 2 reasons. One, that's going to have to be a bigger deal. It's not just Morgan Rielly. Because, again, the worst thing you can do with a guy like Rielly or anyone, frankly, is trade him when they're down. Trade him when their value's low. And, I mean, the Leafs have always, fan base has always been hard on defense. They asked way too much of Dion Phaneuf. I think Morgan Rielly's always been a guy to just throw blame on. He shows up in the playoffs. He's going through a rough stretch right now. But frankly, the cap is going up, and $7.5 million for a defenseman like Rielly, who puts up numbers in the playoffs. Look around the league, whether it's Trouba's cap hit, Darnell Nurse's cap hit, Seth Jones' cap hit. It could be a lot worse. So 7.5 for a guy that really took a cap hit, he took a cap reduction. Based on the market value, he could have went to the open market and probably got $9 million. So I am getting to the conversation of Morgan Rielly has struggled. And I'm always a guy that's backing him because he's been so committed to the city. He's, like I said, he's taken a bit of a reduction on his cap hit, on the money owed. And he was drafted 5th overall by this team in 2012, so he's the longest tenured Leaf. He's been around. And he's been around through all the struggles. So I think that, in consideration, is hard for me to just be okay with what I'm seeing from the Leaf fan base turning on Morgan Rielly. And I can acknowledge he's had a bad year. He's had a really bad year. Guys have bad years. I don't think it's time to turn on Morgan Rielly and trade him when his value's low. Because if it wasn't a trade for JT Miller, I can tell you right now, the Canucks are not doing that 1-for-1. They're going to ask for other assets attached to that. And I will say, Morgan Rielly being from BC, maybe that's the one team, or Seattle, that he waves to. Maybe. But I think he wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf for life. I don't think his cap hit is a huge deterrent with the cap going up. And frankly, you should look at the 4 guys that are making over $10 million. Right? When you lose 3-1 to the Minnesota Wild without Kirill Kaprizov, and yeah, the Leafs didn't have John Tavares or Matthew Nyes. And then you also look at the scenario with the last 3 games, they've only scored 1 goal in each game. So they only have 3 goals for in the last 3 games. That's not good. So I am understanding that there's going to be the Morgan Rielly trade rumors and all of that. But I'm not on the lens, and I don't stand with the fact that people are saying trade him. So that's my message. You can throw your takes in the chat, what you think the Leafs should do with Morgan Rielly, if you should trade him. But I think people need to understand where the Leafs have struggled, and it's come playoff time. And look at Morgan Rielly's goals come playoff time. He scores timely, big goals in the playoffs. Isn't that what the Leafs need? They need timely, big goals in the playoffs, and he has done that. So I think we also need to read the room and understand when the right time is for a guy to turn it on. And if he's going to struggle in the season but turn it on in the playoffs, I think that's all you can ask for the guy. Because, frankly, the Leafs are going to make the playoffs as long as they turn this around and don't continue to lose. And Morgan Rielly's a guy that can step it up in the playoffs offensively. So the Leafs need to hone in on that and support the guy because he's going to do that in the playoffs if he's in the right situation.